Okay. So, before we get going, could someone clarify for me? I thought for certain a couple episodes ago when Shingo was spying on like the whole club forming process, he specifically referred to Korin as his idol. Now, maybe I heard that line wrong, maybe there was a mistranslation, maybe I'm just remembering it the wrong way, but I'm pretty certain I heard him say Korin. Which means one of two things. Either A, originally he was going to be interested in Korin and they made a super last minute change and it didn't get to the script in time. Or B, that was sort of a bait and switch for the audience. Like, they're really leaning into, oh, you think he'd be obsessed with Korin when he's actually obsessed with Aichi. Either way, I don't know. It's just a weird thing to remember. And I'd have no logical reason to think he would be obsessed with Korin, because obviously in the original he was obsessed with Aichi. So if anyone feels like going back and checking that out, or if they remember more clearly, let me know. It's not a big deal, but it is kind of weird. Anyways, so, like I just said, we basically got the Shingo episode. And we just call it the Shingo episode because who here is expecting a lot from this guy? And honestly, even though I was a little worried that Shingo was just going to be this really annoying, unpleasant, unlikable little creep and a stereotype, because he kind of was in the original, I kind of got into this. I thought it worked. I mean, again, I didn't super like Shingo in the original for all the reasons I just mentioned, and I can't imagine he'll be much better in a show that already has a lot of characters trying to get the spotlight, but I thought this was a really nice way to go about bringing him into the plot. First up, what I liked was this episode had more of a comedy first tone than the past several have. The past several have really lent into like the teen drama soap opera element of the show. It's done it well, don't get me wrong, but it was sort of nice to get an episode that was a bit more goofy, a bit more funny, as Shingo is not really a character you're supposed to take seriously, and I appreciate they're not all of a sudden trying to turn him into that. That being said, there was some nice character development moments, particularly with Naoki. I like this idea that deep down he wanted to believe in something to the point where now that he's found something, he's so just enthralled in it. In a lot of the same ways Aichi was when he started really getting into Vanguard. But he's a lot more different than Aichi, where Aichi was okay with kind of sitting back for a bit, waiting for the right person. Now he's just like, nah man, I want to fight everyone, bring them all to me, I gotta do this, let's card fight bitches. It's a fun way to go about it, especially because if we're bringing it back to real life for a minute, and we'll do that a couple times in this video. I remember when, like, I sort of got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And all that, it was sort of exciting, like, finally having something really fun to do, something to commit to, making all these friends. I kind of wanted it everywhere. I tried bringing it up at school, seeing if there was anyone who still had any interest in the game, that kind of good stuff. It didn't really work, but it's kind of what you want. You find that outlet to make yourself feel better, to make friends, do all that stuff, and you really want to explore it. And I thought the episode did it in a way that didn't make him seem annoying or obnoxious. They did a good job of setting him up for this whole thing to work. And then we get into Shingo's introduction, and you know what? I kind of buy it. I really do. I like the idea that, first up, I like the idea that they're expanding on everyone's backstory, because in the original, part of the problem with Shingo is he's just an annoying nerd. He doesn't have anything going on outside of school, he has no backstory, no real drama at all, he's just there, and to a lesser extent so is Naoki. But no, I like the fact that both these characters have been given families, they've been given pasts. Okay, Naoki had a bit of that, but with Shingo, I like the fact that, no, he wasn't just a loner weirdo. He would play Vanguard with his brother. He watched it on TV. I like just that little insight, or showing that he had friends he Vanguard fought with in elementary school, and then when he got to middle school, everything changed. That's very realistic. That happened in real life, and happens. Like, when Yu-Gi-Oh! When its sort of fad quality ended around, I want to say late 2005, early 2006, that's actually when I was going into middle school, and a lot of kids were like this too, like all of a sudden this thing they really liked, it was just kind of gone. It just sort of left with that whole sort of like early childhood phase of our lives, and so we just kind of had to forget about it until we rediscovered it later. And you sort of see that sort of similarity with Shingo. Once he saw Aichi face Leon, once he saw someone who wasn't all that different from him be able to perform at that level, and then see that, oh shit, he's literally 8 feet away from me, I could see how that would make him so eager and excited and wanting to get so involved, and that might make him come off as a little off and strange. Again, I think part of the reason it works here is because everything had this comedic tone to it, so you're able to get through some of the more cringe-worthy aspects of the character by just playing it off as, oh, this was supposed to be the funny one anyways. It's a real clever way. It was nice to see Nubatama. I didn't really, or as I like to call them, other Murakumo. That was sort of cool. The other thing I thought was sort of fun, and I think is actually, believe it or not, a clever form of world building, when Shingo goes to Korin, oh, sorry, you're an average level fighter and your personality sucks. I don't know why I burst out laughing at that. Something about it was so funny. But it's actually kind of a good sense of world building. In the original, it's just like Korin is just sort of an unbeatable badass who only loses to the other unbeatable badass being Kai. But I kind of like just that small moment of, yeah, she knows a lot about the game. She's obviously involved with the main plot. She has every reason to be an amazing player, but in reality, no. She's good, but she's not like a be-all, end-all powerful player. And Shingo, as someone who obviously analyzes a lot of players and knows a lot about what's going on in the meta, can make that claim. And the fact that he said it so straightforward like that instead of goofy kind of made it feel legitimate while keeping it funny, too. So yeah, I believe that. It's a nice little bit of world building. I know I already said that. And finally, we move on to what might be our last segment of Masaki Watch 2018, mostly because next week is her focus episode. 2 things of note. A, was it just me, or in that opening shot of her with her back to us, did the back of her head look like a butt? I know that's a weird thing to say, but it kind of looked like a butt. And also, what the fuck is with that skirt? Like, all of a sudden, like, am I the only one who finds this weird? Like, it has pockets, and, like, her entire leg is exposed. Like, what are your pants, woman? Like, just explain this to me. Also, I don't want to talk too much about that, because obviously a lot of focus is going to be on her. Just know the whole, she's really letting this whole Cardfight Club thing really weigh on her mind to the effect where it's basically affecting her day-to-day schedule and getting to work on time. I actually really like that. I know it's a little thing, but I like the idea that we've sort of been seeing this built up, so whatever it turns into next week is not going to come out of nowhere. Like, we've definitely seen all of it go. And it'll be cool. We get to see a bit more about how everyone else perceives her next week. But what did you think about this week's episode? What did you think of Shingo? Are you okay with Shingo? Do you prefer a more comedic, goofy episode? Tell me all that below. And as for this week's Vanguard question of the week, speaking of Masaki, that Magus support came out this past weekend. Oh, shit. If you were all expecting the meta to change, boy, do I have news for you. So my question for you all is, I'm sure you've all seen it, and if not, just know it's fucking busted. Do you think we're just sort of in store for Oracle Think Tank sort of always being tier 1 for the remainder of V format? Because at the point in which we're going to get that set, the stuff will have been out for, like, not a year, but, like, close to 8 months, which is a long time considering how Vanguard's meta and release schedule works. So, do you think that's how it's always going to be? I kind of think yes, because part of the thing is Oracles, it's not just the fact that they're a Protect clan, so they have a natural level of defense other decks don't. But for me, it's also the fact that they also have a lot of ability to prepare for pressure and just attack strength. Remember, Promised Empress? I don't know why, I can never remember that card's name. Oh, Imperial Daughter. Remember, Imperial Daughter getting a crit is always a good move. Tom, there's a lot of people found some good strategies with that, even though I don't actually like the new version of Silent Tom. The deck can just do a lot. And so I just feel like it's always just gonna be a tier 1 contender as far as this version of the game goes. Well, what did you think? Tell me your thoughts on that, the episode, and all you'd like to talk about. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week for the waifu episode.